Hey, what's up everybody? Michael Richards here with Elite Athletic Performance. Been a little delay with the videos this week. Glad to be here doing the next installment of our video series. Had a little quarantine situation, but everything's taken care of now. So next video in the line that we're doing, had quite a bit of interest on this one, so I'm excited to be doing it. Power clean, all about power clean and why I don't program it. And so we'll get into that. I don't think, I think you might even be, it might be a little anticlimactic on why I don't use it. It's not like controversial or anything. It's just, you know, it's just how I do things and my philosophy. So remember going into this that this is still my opinion for the most part. You know, that this is just we're using this as tools to help coaches that are trying to build their programs and do the best they can by their athletes. If you know, not every situation's set in stone, so just keep that in mind as we go through this. So as always, who am I? If you care who I am, you can go over to our website, check that out. It's getting a little bit of a facelift, getting better and better every day. My bio is up over there, my background in baseball and in the weight room. I joke that I'm 50% baseball guy and 50% strength coach, so I get on everybody's nerves, and that's pretty accurate. So you can have a look at my background. It's pretty unique, not necessarily awesome, just unique. So some housekeeping things to take care of first. A lot of people get powerlifting and Olympic lifting mixed up. Okay, powerlifting is bench press, squat, deadlift. All right, that's your powerlifting, and you hear about powerlifting meets, things like that. Those are your three lifts. You'll hear people talking about their totals for their bench press, squat, deadlift. You know, 1,000 is like the benchmark everybody's trying to get to. Olympic lifting is like lifting in the Olympics, you know, so a little bit more technical. You know, powerlifting, you can get away with just being brute strong. You know, there's a lot more technique that goes into Olympic lifting, things like that, and some of it overlaps, but we don't have to get into that today for what we're talking about. Olympic lifting, these are the two lifts that are used in the Olympics. The Olympic lifting competitions are the snatch and the clean and jerk. Power clean, what we call the power clean, it's really actually just called a clean, it used to be part of the Olympics the way I understand it. I haven't done a ton of research on this, but see, so what this guy just did right here is the clean, and it was taken out because basically the technique can be dulled down, and it kind of created a gray area for judging, because you get grizzly bears that can go in there and just pick up a bar and put it to their shoulders and win the competition without any technique. So I believe that's why power clean was taken out of the Olympics, but I haven't done a ton of research on that, so I could be wrong. A little more housekeeping. Technically, the Olympic, like the clean, power clean, like I just said, isn't an Olympic lift, but I refer to it as Olympic lift inaccurately. I refer to it sometimes as Olympic lifting. So just keep that in mind. If you hear me call it Olympic lifting, 99% of the people watching this will be like, oh, okay, whatever. But I promise you, there is one strength coach out there looking to eviscerate somebody, and if they look far enough, they'll find me and come after me. So anyways, like I said, the clean is just picking the bar up off the ground, technically like from the ground to your shoulders, and that's where that muddy water came in the Olympics and got the clean taken out as an official lift. So technically, what most people refer to all power cleans as all cleans as a quote power clean, when really and truly there's the squat clean. Really and truly, there's the squat clean right here. So I had a little longer pause there at the bottom, but that's a squat clean. And then the actual power clean is the clean without a squat. So the bar comes up and there's not much of a squat. It's just coming straight up here. Both have uses, both have reasons to be programmed. So now that we've gotten that out of the way, the first thing that we need to get into to make sure that everybody's on the same page about, always remember this, and this is a rule of thumb to remember with everything in the weight room, and really everything in general, in sports especially, in performance and all that. We as human beings are horrible about this, okay? Remember this, correlation does not equal causation, okay? Just because somebody is successful and they do something, it does not mean that that's why they're successful. In fact, for all we know, because you don't have a time machine and you can't go back and redo time, whatever that thing that we are thinking that has caused this person to be successful, it could have been hindering them for all we know. They might have been even better. We don't know that. So I've had several people, and every time I talk about this, and rightfully so, I get it. They're like, well, you know, this person power cleans and he plays in the league and this and that, you know, and you just got to remember that correlation does not equal causation. I have a joke around here, you know, when the guys are like, well, so-and-so does this, and I'm like, dude, Aroldis Chapman takes a dump every day. So do you. He throws 100, you don't. Like, you know, there's differences there. There's more to it than that, you know. So just because you do something and that other person does something, it doesn't mean it's going to have the same effect. So, you know, Aroldis Chapman bench presses freaking heavy a lot too. He can also take his hand and reach back here and grab his elbows behind his back. He's super flexible, so he can do that. Like, there's just context to everything, and you got to keep that in mind when you're thinking about this stuff. So, you know, the same thing goes for injuries, and this actually is kind of a prelude to my next video about shock, what I call shock injuries. You know, kid comes in, does a weighted ball program all fall, you know, God forbid, might even throw weighted balls doing a running gun, you know, like running and throwing those weighted balls, and, you know, which people freak out about. Then over Christmas break, doesn't touch a baseball, goes and steps out on the field for his first practice, gets on the mound, blows his elbow up. What caused it? Well, probably not those weighted balls. It's probably the fact that he hasn't touched a ball in the last 6 weeks or 4 weeks or however long. But you don't know the context of the story. So you've got to be very, very careful when you know, we think we're really bad about this. We think we know all of the details, when really and truly, as we all know, context really plays into that type of stuff. So anyways, like I said, once we get that video done, I'll link it in the description on this one, and you can check that one out too. So remember, and this was a quote that I heard Eric Cressy say when I was up at his place back in 2014 that always stuck to me. Don't contraindicate the lift, contraindicate the lifter. So what that means is, like, if you're really good at it, fine. And if you're okay to do it. And when he was telling us that, what he was actually talking about was overhead pressing for baseball players. There's nothing wrong with overhead pressing for baseball players as long as they have the shoulder mobility to do it and they don't have shoulders that get cranky as a result of it. So that's where there's a same thing, big misunderstanding. Same with bench press and pitchers. There's just all kinds of misunderstandings with that type of stuff. So bottom line, if you're really good at it and you know for a fact that you're good at power clean, do it. Fine. But if or if you're a good coach, you're good at programming, you know when to do it properly, you know how to coach it properly, then program it and coach it. It's fine. It's not that big a deal. I don't use it because of some stuff that we're going to get into a little bit later. But we will get to that, like I said, in just a second. So there are 2 reasons to program Olympic lifting, power cleaning. There are 2 reasons to do that. One, because you're competing in it. There are still local competitions that involve power clean. So if you're doing that, if you're competing in it, then program it. Make sure you're getting it right, okay? The other one is obviously the one that most of the people watching this video are going to be interested in, is to build the athlete's ability to move explosively, RFD, rate of force development. That is the grand poobah, the holy grail of everything that we're doing. It's what we're all after when we are in the weight room. Even when there's a 105-pound kid that can barely pick up the peanut butter sandwich he's needing to eat, and we are just having him lift weights to try to put on some size, we are still chasing rate of force development. It's just a different way to get there because we have to get some stuff done before we can actually do stuff that looks like something that would build rate of force development. But another video for a different time. So rate of force development is a measure of explosive strength, or simply how fast an athlete can develop force. I call it the gas pedal. In Arkansas terms, I like to make things nice and simple. When you have somebody who needs to build rate of force development, they need to build their RFD. We need to put WD-40 on the gas pedal. That's the way I describe it. That's the way I think about it. It's not perfect, but no analogy is. So that's the way I look at it. Remember that RFD is the main goal. That's what we're after. The real freaking deal. The very bottom line is RFD, okay? I know what you're thinking. I know what you're thinking. Well, if RFD is what we want, if RFD is what we're after, isn't power clean the one that we would really go? Is that not the best lift for that? Maybe. All right, so not for me, but for some people, yes. All right, I've got two hypothetical scenarios to go over here. All right, one, in scenario one, you have a chance to make $1 million. The pro of this situation is if you get it right, you make $1 million, obviously, okay? The con, you don't understand the sales strategy, and your lack of understanding leads to a very low likelihood of success, okay? That's the first situation, all right? So scenario one is like that. Scenario two, you have an opportunity to make at least $900,000, potentially $1 million or even more. The pro, if you get it right, you will make at least $900,000. Second pro, it's almost impossible to screw up, okay? The con, it could be a little less money, but there's actually a chance you could make more. So obviously I know which one I would go with. Hopefully, I assume you would go with the same one as I would. All right, so what you talking about? Scenario one is the power clean, Olympic lifting. Scenario two is a properly programmed med ball work and a few other properly programmed plyometrics, like jumping on boxes, different types of jumps, different directions of jumps, things like that. So what is my point with all of this? All right, so scenario one, like I said, if you get it right, scenario one is the power clean. There could be a big payout. There could be a big payout if you get it right. Now, that is a big if. Remember, power clean, and obviously, like I said earlier, this is technically inaccurate, but for intent and purposes, it's its own sport. Like literally, it's its own sport. Not literally, but you know what I mean. So there are coaches that spend their life coaching this movement, right? So is this really the movement that we want to give a high school athlete to try to build rate of force development? If there were no other options, yeah, we should go all in on it. But there are way better options. There are way better options. The main thing that you've got to remember with this, with power clean and snatch and all those other things, it has to be right to pay off what you're trying to accomplish. And another thing that a lot of people, and I'm going off the video just a little bit here, but this point needs to be made. Power clean, Olympic lift, all that stuff. Now in the CrossFit community, that's a different story. They use it for different things. That's fine. Like I've said before, I actually kind of enjoy CrossFit. I like to watch it. I like the competitions. I like to talk about it. I think it's pretty cool. And every now and then I'll tinker with some of the harder wads. But you need to remember that it's not a hypertrophy movement. This is not like an exercise. It's not a something that you build to, or you use to build your legs, or to, God forbid, use as conditioning or something like that. Like, there is one reason you program a power clean for an athlete, and that is to build rate of force development. It's not an exercise. It's not something that you want to just put in, like when you're just trying to wear out some kids. It's a super duper technical movement, okay? So power clean, one more point on it. When is a good time to use it? When is a good time? Like I just said, it's super technical. And I'm gonna be honest, in my opinion, and this is a strong opinion. This is about as strong as I'll get on my opinions, all right? But if you don't have formal training from people that coach Olympians, you don't need to use it. Because if you don't understand the hinge to a point of nausea, to where it is absolutely like you see it so perfectly, there's so many things you can miss in the background, because like I said, you've got, like, it all boils down to the hinge and the speed of the hinge, all right, and being able to explode through that movement. So you got to be able to understand that stuff, and if you don't, it's not paying the dividends that you're hoping that it will pay, and it's just not worth it. You know, like the time to teach it, it's just not worth it. So all right, now scenario 2, what I was talking about, med ball work, other plyometrics. This is where we live around here. This is where a lot of strength coaches live, lots of guys. Even football coaches or like private football guys that work with a lot of NFL guys, they're really getting away. Like, they still use power clean. They'll use that stuff because those guys are freaking monsters and they need that stuff. But like, there's a lot. I've heard Joe DeFranco talk about that. Why would I worry about the power clean and all the technical stuff that goes into it when we can just throw med balls? And that's pretty much how I see it. So, all right, remember, keep in mind, RFD is what matters, rate of force development, all right? Throwing med balls and jumping on stuff is the interstate to better RFD. It is a nice, smooth, paved interstate, right? Take you straight to grandma's house. The power clean is like ramping over a ravine to get to more RFD. You could do it, you might make it, but you might crash, you know? So that's why I don't use power clean that much. So, well, I don't use it at all, but because it's not that there's anything really that wrong with power clean or snatch and all the other Olympic lift type stuff. It's not that there's that much wrong with it. There's just such a better option. That's the way I see it. So why is med ball work and other plyometrics, like why are we using them? Why are they a better option? They're hard to screw up, and they are plane specific. That's very important, and we're going to get to that in just a second. All right, so how do I screw it up? It's real simple. The way you screw up plyometrics is you use them as conditioning. Stop with the 50 reps of stuff. 50 box jumps, 100 box jumps. That's like running with scissors. It makes no sense. There's no need in doing that. There are things that there are tools. It's like trying to drive a screw with a hammer. You don't do that. You get a screwdriver, you get your impact drill. You use the proper tool for what you are trying to accomplish. And plyometrics are absolutely, positively a horrible method for conditioning, all right? We don't ever get above 6 reps when we're talking about a med ball throw or a jump, and 6 is only when it's like both sides of the body. Excuse me. So if we're doing like a med ball slam, just a straight med ball slam, or a straight box jump, it's going to be no more than 5, depending on what the other work is going on that day. Usually it'll be 3. So what you're doing with the 3 reps or 6 reps per set max, that's when it's like a scoop toss, for instance. All right, and depending on time of year, that we'll do more non-dominant side, but we'll go 3 reps on the dominant side. Excuse me, 3 reps on the non-dominant side, which ends up for a total of 6. And honestly, like I said, I love sets of 2 and 3. So it might even only be 4. So depending on whatever, we're keeping those reps down super low. Remember this, you cannot make an athlete's body go faster when you are bludgeoning them with fatigue-induced work. 50 reps of throwing a med ball becomes slop. They just slop through it. And you know this so well on the practice field. Practice does not make perfect. Perfect practice makes perfect. And it's the exact same thing in here. If you have kids athletes so tired and exhausted, and they're just slopping through these things, nothing is happening except their risk for injury is growing. That is the only thing that you are accomplishing with that. So we want crisp, fast, explosive movements. I want every single one of their reps to be with all their might. That's what we're trying to accomplish, okay? Okay, plane specificity. So, quick question. When you're performing a power clean, is it bad if your chest is pointing north and your hips are pointing west? That's bad. That is very, very bad when you are performing a power clean. Well, if you'll notice in the video right here, I happen to be using Ross, who's down there lifting right now in this example video. Well, his hips are going towards the wall. It's happening pretty fast, but you can see it. See the Nike swoosh on his shirt? I can still see it. Pretty blurry, but you know, if you coach baseball, you know exactly what I'm talking about. His hips flip towards the wall. I'm still looking at that Nike swoosh because that's that thing called hip-shoulder separation that we're all after, right? Hitters are the exact same way, right? It happens a little faster, a little closer together, but we all know there is a certain degree of hip-shoulder separation that has to happen, right? So if it's really bad when that's happening, when power cleaning, then that is not going to be my grand poobah of ways to build rate of force development. Or I guess I should back up and say there is a better way to build rate of force development that is in a more plane specific way. You know, scoop tosses, things like that, tossing the med ball. And I should have put a video on here of a scoop toss. I'm not really sure why I didn't do that, but that is basically taking a med ball and, you know, it's a scoop toss, just like that, right? Or a rotational med ball slam. So I'll link those videos in the descriptions when I get done. I'm not really sure why I didn't link those in here. So like I said, I know what you're thinking. Again, I know what you're thinking. So if power clean not being plane specific is not good, so are we going back down the sport specific hole that we were in like 2015, where some people were like, well, if it doesn't look like the sport you're playing, then you don't need to be doing it? And no, that is a very, like, that's a stupid place to live. Don't do that. So earlier, it's not the problem with power clean, it's the fact that there are such better options out there. Like I said, you can do a med ball scoop toss and the hips and shoulders are naturally separating just like you do when you throw a baseball or hit or swing a bat, right? And then the torso is having to overcome that, the hip shoulder separation. So you are actually training with a heavier implement in that plane of motion that is happening when you are performing your sport, right? So there is that, but also we don't want to go and we don't want to pigeonhole ourselves into a place to where the only way we can build RFD is with a med ball, because I mean, even med balls are only 20 pounds, you know, so like eventually we've got to be able to load it. So yes, we do still train RFD in ways with, like, you know, like in a power clean in a straight, what I call a straightforward method, where there's no twisting of the torso, and it's bilateral, both feet are on the ground, you know. Instead we do it in a unilateral fashion and a bilateral fashion, and I've got a couple videos to show you how you do it. And it's all, like I said, the whole point of this is there are better options out there. So this right here is a jumping deadlift. You'll notice the little box in front of us right there. That is, we call it a VBT. That's not what it's called. It's a product from Vitruve. And as you can see, it's a really great way to build culture. It's another scoreboard for guys to pay attention to and compete against each other. So what it's doing is it's measuring meters per second that the bar is moving. It's just like a radar gun for the bar. And so that is how we are building. Like I said, there is a whole lot less technical stuff going on with that than there is in a power clean. And I went ahead and let this video roll so you can kind of see how I would pair up exercises. This is just an example. It's not something that's done, you know, it's every time we do a jumping hex bar deadlift, it's not these two type jumping exercises that happen in between. This is just an example of how I would put some plyometrics in with the hex bar jumps. So what I just did is what we call like a 90-degree back jump to a box, and then that's a Bulgarian split pulse, a little bit of weight added. I need all the RFD I can get. So that's one example. This is a drop bench, and I wanted to give credit where credit is due. One of my friends, coaching friends, I don't even know how we describe that these days. One of my internet coaching friends, which sounds really weird. And if you do by chance watch this, I hope I'm not butchering your name, but it's built by Baggett or Baguette. I guess Baggett. Anyways, dude is super sharp. Follow him. He got me kind of on the rabbit hole, on some of this stuff and what we call now a drop bench press and a drop squat. We basically are taking, like I said, I was talking to him about one of his guys that throws really hard and can take 260 for a really fast ride on bench press, and it kind of just got me going down the rabbit hole on that of how we could train that. The results remain to be seen, as to whether that's that's another one of those cause and correlation type things. Does that guy throw hard because he can do that on the bench press, or does he bench press like that because he can throw hard? That's one of those things that will kind of make your head spin, chicken and egg type thing. But I know it's not going to hurt for us to be, if we take an athlete and make him or her better at moving a bar fast, safely, that's definitely not going to hurt. So, like I said, give him a shout or give him a follow on Instagram. You will not be disappointed. That is one of the ways that we train upper body RFD with a loaded fashion. And then this is the drop squat. Wait, I didn't even show that video, did I? There we go. This was supposed to play automatically when I clicked on this, but I don't know if we're having internet issues or what, but let's just start it from the beginning. So I've got two examples of what not to do. What we're wanting to do is you want to drop that thing, like pull that bar to your chest, just like that, and then I give examples up here. You got to remember, in all of my videos, I'm talking to the athletes that are on the floor and our remote athletes that are following our programming. So I'm giving examples of what I've seen them do, and then be like, stop doing that, in that video, and then giving the right example. So what I'm doing over there is, it is a 1 rep, just fast as you can go, little pause, drop, and go again. Drop squat. All right, so no. These are all the examples of what not to do. The way that I tell them, or the way I coach this on that drop squat, I want it to be basically like you fainted. All right, your legs give out from under you, you catch yourself, pop the bar back up. Now, very important, if the person is not a high level experienced squatter, don't put this tool in their toolbox. They don't need to be doing it. They've got to get to where they can squat first. This is something that you see a ton of, and we don't need this. Like, we get so ahead of ourselves. We want to give athletes, a NASCAR before they ever have a driving learner's permit, and this is a really good example of that. If they don't squat well and they aren't very proficient at squatting, the last thing you want to do in anything, squatting or anything else, when you're not good at something, the last thing you want to do is do it fast, right? So be careful with that. Make sure that even if it's a guy that's been squatting or is very good in the weight room and has been there for these long 9-foot tall guys that look like Big Bird that don't squat well, even if they've been in the weight room for a long time, but you usually load, I'll load their lower bodies with, the way we train their lower bodies is more with like rack pulls and stuff that are elevated off the ground. Their squat pattern's just not good because they have femurs that are as long as my legs. They don't need to be doing this either. So that's where a box squat comes in, to where we can build that rate of force development like that. So that box squat is another way that we build that, as well as with rack pulls and fast sumo deadlifts. There's a whole lot of stuff you can do. These are just a couple examples. So if you'd like and share this video with anybody that might want to see it, or you think it might help them, I would really appreciate it. I've been doing a devotional at the end of each video. I'm going to stop reading them for now. You can read them if you want. Just as I watched the videos, it sounded more preachy than I really wanted it to, so you can read them and do what you want with them. Hopefully that helps. If you have any questions about that, I'd be happy to talk about that too. So again, I appreciate you guys watching. I'll see you in the next one. Thank you.